Hello, everyone. My name's Hank Suttala,
And I'm Casey McBride.
and we're here with another fun episode of Stir Crazy Shamans, May 29th at 11:19 a.m. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'm starting to give the date and time because I have found as I have gone through to upload all of our old episodes that it's going to help me a lot to have this date at the beginning to help organize things in the future. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for showing up because we did not schedule this broadcast. We're just like, oh, here we are. And we're so grateful that you guys are tuning in to join us.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I heard my phone ding, so I need to put that on mute so that's not rude to everyone listening.
Oh, be rude to people. They don't care. No, but you do need to share it to your, if you'd like to share it, anyway, you do need to share it to your personal profile page. And while we're doing that and sharing our the stream to our pages, if you'd like to be a contribution to the stream, you can go ahead and share it as well to your page or start a watch party. However, if you'd like to, you don't have to, but that would be a great way to help us spread our show and the awareness that we're hoping to bring to people. So I'm doing that right now too.
Yes, I just shared mine to my page. So, yep, very cool. And a reminder to everyone, we won't see your comments if you're commenting to certain Facebook pages. So best surefire way to know that we will see your comments watching this is to go to YouTube and comment on the YouTube channel.
Outstanding. Thank you so much. All right.
And we have Fiona the cat who says that she's going to be a part of the show, at least her tail from time to time, if nothing else.
Right. Well, by my experience with your cat is every 5 minutes it makes a different choice. So we'll see how long this lasts.
Yeah, she's all about it right now, but oh, there she is on the microphone. Can you hear that?
No, I can't.
Her tail's rubbing up against the microphone. I wonder how loud that is.
Yeah, and in the description for everybody, I'm still doing a lot of work on it, but if you go to stircrazyshamans.com now, most of you will see the website, and on the homepage right now, it has the thumbnails of the entire archive of Stir Crazy Shaman episodes, and then on the right-hand side, it gives you links where you can go and download the audios off of iTunes. So we have it all available on our actual own website now. We're going to be building that out a little bit. It will also be a place where we can put blog articles. It's just going to be like an informational hub for everything that we're doing as we continue to grow this. So that's another great resource. I'm excited that I finally got that domain thing to work because, in case it knows, I was messaging him. I'm about to throw my computer across the room.
It was.
Because I'm not a tech person, but I thought I knew a thing or two about DNS servers, but no. I got schooled. I had to end up getting my web person, which is a great starting point. Is when you feel overwhelmed, if you don't know what you're doing with something, there is no shame in asking for help. And if I had asked for help a week ago, I would have been much further along with the project.
Yeah. So I was just watching some YouTube travel shows, and I came across this one person who she's a nutritionist, and she's like a cook, and she travels and does all this stuff. But I never heard of this concept before. We had kind of talked about this sort of thing in the past. But I guess there's this book that these two nutritionists and doctors wrote called Intuitive Eating. And basically the whole thing is that the diet mentality that so many people have when whatever their goal is, if they're trying to lose weight or improve cholesterol levels or whatever they're doing, the whole diet mentality of exclude these foods, you can't eat them, and then restrict how much you eat and count calories and all that stuff is really a kind of a toxic thing, and it's not a good mindset to have if you're trying to just live a healthy lifestyle and be a healthy person. And so a big part of this intuitive eating is just to tune into the body and feel. And so what they say, a lot of people make the mistake of doing, people who have an unhealthy relationship with food, is that they wait to eat until they're so hungry that on a scale of 0 to 10, they're at a 0, where 0 is intense hunger that's almost painful. And when you ask the average person well, what is it like when you're hungry? They're I'm irritable, or maybe I get a little lightheaded, or my stomach kind of is when painful or whatever. And that's a 1 to 2, or even all the way to a 0. And then 10 on the scale of fullness is painfully full, where you ate so much that you almost feel like sick, and it just like hurts because you ate too much. And so what people do is they wait until they ignore all the hunger signals from their body because they're not tuned into their body. So when they're at this like really uncomfortable 0 or 1 on the hunger scale, they eat, and they want to eat like really like calorically dense foods, like just sugary, oily foods. And then they're so they just eat and eat and eat really, really fast, and they don't eat slowly or mindfully. So then now they're at like a 10, and they're like uncomfortably full, and they kind of just bounce back and forth between like 0 and 10, and it's just really not healthy for the body at all. And that's where people develop a really unhealthy relationship with the foods. So what they're saying, and there's a lot more to it. I guess there's like 2 whole books on that these doctors wrote on this. But you want to be like, when you're hungry, if you're at about like a 4 or a 3 or 4 on the hunger scale, so like 5 being neutral, not hungry at all. If you're 3 or 4, that's when you eat, and then you eat until you're at like a 6 or a 7 on the hunger scale, and or the fullness scale, or whatever you want to call it. And so that way you're never like overly uncomfortably full, but you're never like too hungry. And in eating, when you're just starting to get the signals that your body needs some food and that you're hungry, and not ignoring it until you're intensely hungry, then you're more likely to be more rational with your food choices and eat healthier foods, and in a more proper amount, and eat slowly and mindfully, and all those healthy things.
Well, and that's one of the big things, eating slowly and mindfully, because it takes, I forget the time, but my wife has brought it up to the kids because they want to eat so much so quickly, right? And then they're always taking that one extra glass of milk or this one other, helping of something, and then they end up not eating it. And part of the reason is it takes your stomach so long to send the signal to the brain, hey, dude, I'm full, stop it.
Right.
But if you're eating so quickly that by the time the signal gets up there that you're overeaten, then you're at that 10. You're less like, oh, why did I have that one extra thing of pie? Well, that's because the stomach is in the process of communicating with the brain, but you were eating faster than your stomach could communicate. So eating slowly and mindfully gives your body a chance to talk with itself and indicate where it's at in terms of its needs being met.
Right. And a big thing also, talking about like hunger signals and all of that, they now know that it's actually fiber. I don't know if it has to do just with the volume in the stomach, or specifically like your brain, there's something to sense like the amount of fiber we're eating. But just the way our bodies are wired, it's fiber that really gives us the sense of when we're full. And processed foods like whatever, like white bread without any of the like whole grain stuff, and like a lot of these other unhealthy kind of like junk foods that and like fast food and all that stuff that people eat, it doesn't contain that fiber that our bodies are evolutionarily used to getting. And so if you eat even until you're full, but you're not getting any of the fiber to like actually fill the stomach up, then you're way over consuming calories most of the time, just because the food is far more calorically dense than, say, if you were to eat like a whole bunch of vegetables or fruit along with the food that you're eating. And even like like good healthy protein sources like legumes, like lentils, beans, peas, all that good stuff. They're very dense nutritionally, and they have a lot of protein in them, but they also have that fiber along with it. So it helps to well, one, it gives us a signal that we're full, but it also feeds our gut flora as well, and our gut flora like need that fiber in order to properly function. So it improves the digestion as well.
Cool. If I knew we were going to talk about this, Dr. K and I should have totally talked about digestion and made the episodes kind of just roll into one another. But John shares with us, enjoy each bite as if it is the last. And that is a great place as you're eating to stay mindful and present. Like, what if you were to savor each bite as though that's the only bite of food that you're ever going to have, and it's your last bite of food? And that's a great mindfulness trick, just to really be present. And Dr. Dane here, who is one of my favorite authors, wrote the book Being You, Changing the World. He would say that at the very beginning of each meal, you eat the first 5 bites in full awareness, and not just the physical sensation of eating, but energetically, what are you getting from that food, and what are you able to receive from it, from the consciousness of the plant, like everything, to be fully aware and present through that experience for the first 5 bites. But why not do it for the whole thing? But anyway, that's a great thing to start dipping your toes in the water of it.
Yeah, and it is. It's such a different experience just to bring the mindful awareness into, well, anything that you do, but especially with our experience of food, and so much of the time. People are rushed, and it's like they're on their lunch break, or maybe even like driving in their car and just trying to like shove something down to get on to the next thing. And like again, our bodies just aren't wired to eat like that. We're supposed to be in that rest and digest mode, the parasympathetic nervous system, in order to like really process the food that we're eating. And so, yeah, taking the time to sit down and be mindful not only causes you to eat more slowly and really enjoy the experience of the food and tune in with how your body's responding to it, but it also engages the parasympathetic nervous system so that we're relaxed and our body can actually digest the food that we're putting into it. So yeah, hugely important, definitely.
And then kind of going back to when you were saying intuitively, like not just eating for the sake of eating, but to really tune into the body. And I've talked about this before, how when I do this, I will get the weirdest combinations of food that my body was really desiring, like pineapples and pistachios. But if you're like going to do a diet and you're being told you can only eat these things, there's a couple issues with this. One, in Access, we identify two types of people. There's humans and humanoids. We think of them as cows and horses. And humanoids don't like to be told anything about what to do. In fact, they'll usually do the opposite just to not listen and conform. So if you're a humanoid and you're trying to put yourself on a diet and you're telling yourself you can only have certain things, just the very nature of who you are, it would be really difficult to stick to anything because every fiber of what you actually are wants to do the opposite of what you're told.
Yeah, and that's another big point that in the video I was watching she brought up was like, say for example, I don't know, like sweets, like donuts or like cinnamon rolls I had a little while ago, right? So I say if you tell yourself like, no, I can't have those like sweet decadent like dessert foods, then it's like what we talk about, what you resist persists. So in your mind you're thinking like, no, I can't have that, I can't have that, and now we're giving more and more power to this food in our minds, right, that it doesn't really deserve or need. And so like this person was sharing that when she started out doing this, she had like always done diets and things that would always like she never let herself eat like potato chips, and then like chocolate were two things that she was like she would eat a lot of.
See, I get those things together.
Right. No. So what she did. So when she learned about this intuitive eating, they say let yourself eat everything, but just be mindful of what your body actually wants. And then, so she brought in potato chips and chocolate into the house. And like for the first week, she ate like a bunch of potato chips and chocolate. And then when she realized that she's like, okay, I'm allowing myself to have this, I can have it whenever I want, then it lost its novelty. And she's just like, oh, okay, well, maybe every once in a while I have some, but like she like doesn't really eat them all that often anymore. But she has them there always in the house. Like I can have them whenever I want, but just in not having that like resistance to like, oh, it's bad, I need to feel guilty and naughty about it, then we're taking away the power by just saying, yeah, have whatever you want.
Well, then I guess the trick is, how do people really get in touch with what their body wants? Because we are so out of touch. Sometimes we identify that we are the body, but the being and the body are two totally separate things. And so I think you have, in some of the past meditations you've done, you've gone into a series of questions that you walk people through to get in tune with the body.
Yeah. So oftentimes we're really blocked from sensing what's going on in the body because, well, now I'm learning a lot of it is what we call hucha in the tradition I'm learning in Peruvian shamanism. But so what I'll do is I guide people to an area of the body that's really uncomfortable. Like, I see you lying that comment up. Is that what you're doing?
What's that? No.
Oh, okay.
No, I had something else that I need to address, but I am listening.
Well, I saw a big comment come up. Like we had some comments, so I thought you were eyeing that up.
No, it's. Oh, I can bring that up.
Well, let's wait and because I still got my train of thought going here. So, but I saw you. I thought maybe you were getting ready to pull it.
No,
up.
I have to message, totally unrelated to the show. There's something that requires just a quick attention thing, but it will take me like 30 seconds, and I am listening as you talk. So go ahead and continue on your thing.
We just mentioned this yesterday. It happens at least once an episode where I'm talking and then something happens and Hank is like off, and then it's hilarious because sometimes I'll catch him when he's still distracted when I finish talking, and I just get this.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Cool. That's one thing he says. Cool. Like, yeah, I know you weren't listening. but it's okay. Anyway, so yeah, what I do though is I guide people. So like if we have these uncomfortable, tense, heavy sensations that sometimes we label as stress or like anger or guilt or whatever, we really want to like run away from that. It's uncomfortable to place our attention there and deal with it. So our mind, comes, like we were talking yesterday, the monkey mind kicks in, starts thinking about like, oh, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? And then, oh, maybe I can go to the movies tomorrow with my friends and I have the day off next week. So instead of dealing with it, we'll go a million different directions in the mind. So I tell people, all right, you don't worry about what's going to happen in the future. Just for this moment right now, find that area in the body that is the most uncomfortable, the most tight, the most tense. And then I have them fully bring their awareness into that. Now, what does that really feel like? And then I guide them through these questions, but I don't want them to actually answer with their mind. And I tell them, your mind is going to want to answer. That's fine. Let it do that. But then ignore it and go back to just feeling it. And it's the feeling of the energy in the body that we're going for. The mind, it doesn't matter. We don't care what it has to say for now, just for now. And then, so we'll ask certain questions like, okay, now, what is my body aware of right now that I'm not consciously willing to recognize? And I just go through all these questions to start to shift the energy. And what actually happens is this energy that was really uncomfortable and tense and like actually blocking communication between the being and the body, we transmute that energy into like an opening that opens up the communication. So it becomes like the fertilizer for an experience of the body and also experiences of spirit. And you'd be amazed doing that. It helps you tune into the body, one, but also that can open up and immediately from right there, we can jump straight out to communication with spirit guides, spiritual beings around us. If that's not what you're trying to accomplish, it's still just a great way to really tune in to the body as well.
And you might be surprised too, like as you start tuning into the body, you might be surprised with what it wants. I just know I've told this story on air before when I was in line at Chipotle, and this was right after I had taken a couple access classes, and the point was made to me that, oh, your body's different. Why don't you ask your body what it would like to eat? And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that. And I used to be a half carnitas and half barbacoa type of Chipotle eater. And I'm in line, I'm like, hey, body, what would you like? And it's like, not that. Like energetically, it's like not that. And then I, for a moment, just empathically connected with the entire life of the animals that were used, and I basically became plant-based overnight. But more based on what my body actually would like. And I've never had, from that moment, as long as I asked that question, I've never gone back to eating that kind of food anymore. So it's just a night and day thing, and I never planned to do that. And it came with great ease just from asking a question and being congruent with the being's choice and what was going to be a contribution to the body.
Hank, I don't think I ever told you this, but you telling that story just now brought back some memories. Because I'm plant-based vegan as well, and for me, there was it was sort of an overnight thing where I did a lot of research and then finally saw some footage and was like, I can't eat these animals anymore. But I was thinking back on it, and what led me up to actually starting to do all that research that I did and everything. Was I just started to notice that my body was like really starting to not reject, but it really did not agree with the food that I was eating. And I ate like a big hunk of meat, like steak or chicken or some giant hunk of flesh every single night. And would also probably have that for something like that for lunch, and then some kind of animal flesh at breakfast as well. And that was how I ate for years and years and years and years. And I got to a certain point where I was going deeper into my energy practices, tuning into my body more. And I was just the same food that I thought that I'd loved for so long. I just noticed I was starting to become really almost disgusted by it. And I was like, what is going on here? I love steak. Steak is great. It's delicious. Who doesn't like steak? And and then and then then just really I don't know, the universe then just sort of I mean, my spirit guides in the universe always lead me in the right direction, so then they just started to go like, hey, here's some new information, do with it what you will. And so I got hit with a lot of information about like going plant-based and all that stuff. And yeah, and so, but then, so I guess it wasn't so overnight. There was, I guess, things leading up to it, but then the actual transition diet-wise, that did happen overnight.
Right. And just to throw out there too, it's not about judging eating meat or not eating meat as a right or wrong. It's about what works and what doesn't work. But from the duality perspective, that's a whole nother conversation to have, like with how animals are treated and that thing. So if it is light for you to eat meat, then start to ask the question, well, which meat feels lightest? And watch the movie Food Matters. That will drastically change your perspective and point of view about things like that. And maybe even if you are going to be carnivorous or whatnot, that you will choose humanely treated. There's arguments for that too. But
no, yeah, there's no way to humanely murder anyone. How do you humanely murder someone, Hank?
No, you ask them to give up their soul. That would be the humane way to do it, and then they just leave. Right?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I guess so. Right.
So once you get that down,
you see their spirit looking down, like, please partake of my flesh, because that's how all that steak ends up on your plate.
Yeah, well, my point is that what my target was saying that is to make the choice not out of the place of judgment about it being right or wrong, but more out of the place of what works for the body, what doesn't work, and what works for the planet and what doesn't work for the planet. My cousin Jared, who is not vegan or anything like that, he was just educating himself, reading some articles, and I haven't read the article myself, but it was something about the methane production of like cattle being bred for meat consumption and things of that nature. And the gas from the methane of cattle was more than automobiles or something to that effect.
The auto industry. Yeah.
And so like with that awareness, it wasn't that he had a point of view about meat eating was not right. It was about, well, that's not working for the planet. And though I have to drive to get to work, I don't have to eat meat to survive. So why don't I make a different diet choice that is going to be, though maybe a small thing if only one person does it, but if a lot of people were starting to choose that, that would make a huge change in the gas production on the planet that may be contributing to ozone effects and climate warming and stuff like that. So that's what I mean when I say what works and doesn't work. It's not a rightness or wrongness coming from that energetic place, but what really does work for you and what really does work for the planet. And
well, if we're talking about the planet, though, are the cows and chickens and pigs not a part of the planet?
Oh, they are.
Right. So, well, then, because I see this happen too often, not from you, but from a lot of other people, where they'll say, oh yeah, don't worry about the judgment based around, the animals and it being right or wrong, but it's really bad for the planet. And I always think,
well, I didn't say bad. I said what works and what doesn't work.
Oh, right.
I was really avoiding that, but go for it.
We're sharing this planet with many, many other beings, and we're not the all-important inhabitants of this planet. We are earthlings among all the other animals and creatures here. So I do think that it is time for us to there's so much information out there. Anyone can educate themselves. So, start to educate yourself. So, what does it really take to get the food that you're eating onto your plate? And that's something everyone, even people who are vegan, can improve on. I know sometimes I'll go to the grocery store and maybe there's some avocados that are on sale. I'll pick those up. But would it be a lot better for human beings as well as animals for me to maybe go out of my way, spend a little more money to buy fair trade avocados? Yes, but maybe they don't have them at that grocery store. And in the moment, I make an impulsive decision. So no one's perfect. But I think really, just the more we educate ourselves on, and not just food, but the clothes that you buy, the industries that you support, otherwise, entertainment or whatever it might be, what actually happens in order to bring that whatever you're consuming, purchasing to you.
What was it? There's a show. It's on Netflix. It's called The Good Place. It has Christian Dunst, I think. and a couple other people. But now the premise, spoiler alert, if you want to watch this, you tune out now because I'm about to spoil a whole bunch of stuff for you. But it turned out that in this show that nobody had gone to the good place for years, and it turned out to be with the application of like cell phones or something like that, or and like when people now had access to the information and they're now choosing this, but it had all these repercussions of hurting humanity somewhere that no one earned to go into heaven for like years and decades and something like that. And now I don't know how the next season's going to go, but like when you're saying educate yourself, like what about the water where it's coming from? Or
Right.
like let's talk about Monsanto and genetically modified. Well, or let's not talk about Monsanto. Let's talk about food companies that might use genetically modified stuff that are Roundup ready. And like what are you supporting? If even if you're buying vegetables, is that vegetable brought up in a way that hurt other farmers because they sued someone that used their seed that blew over into their field and stuff? So like if you start really looking at it, you may find yourself making different choices. Or even in the grocery store, I haven't researched everything, but I'll ask, does this feel light for me to buy or not? And I just get a heaviness or a lightness. And then sometimes I would start researching the things that said no. Well, when I start looking at it, I find, oh wow, there was a reason they use this one fungicide that's a known carcinogen or something like that. And maybe that's why I got the no answer or the heavy answer. So you can start with that intuitive binary dialogue with the universe, but at the same time, when you get answers, you can then dive in and say, well, why maybe did I get that answer? And then find that, wow, there was a real reason, and that's going to help you get trust in your gut and intuition, kind of discerning what to put into your body and not if you were to do something like that.
Yeah, definitely. And we all have that sort of internal guidance system. But and again, just like we talk about how we've fallen out of being in tune with our bodies, we've fallen out of being in tune with that guidance system as well. You take I don't know how to put it. Um, hmm. I'm trying not to be like too overly vegan in this episode, but I've already kind of gone down that rabbit hole a little bit. But I mean, you take a little child, for example, and you put a kid in the bed with like a strawberry and a little baby rabbit. Which one is the kid going to eat and which one's the kid going to play with? So like there's like this dialogue of like, okay, one is food and the other is not. And but not even talking about food, we have this certain sense of like, okay, that's wrong, that makes me upset, that makes me feel bad, without having to be taught about that. It's just that's the way we feel. And we have so much like cognitive dissonance around so many things that we've completely fallen out of tune with that guidance system. And now we live completely up in the heads and we ignore the body. We make choices that make us feel heavy, and we go like, well, that shouldn't make me feel blah, blah, blah. And then we just explain it away. And then every time we do that, we're telling the body that this internal guidance system is not important. And so it starts to give us less and less communication. But we all have the choice to tune into the body immediately and start to feel. And I know, like, even when I was out foraging for wild ramps, I was asking the spirit of the forest if I could take some of the ramps, and I got a yes. And then as I was starting to harvest some of them, I got this feeling like, okay, that's enough. Stop right there. But my mind went, yeah, but if I get like this many more, then I could do this with this dish that I'm going to make. And so I kept just really fast, picked a few more, and then I felt really heavy about it, and that kind of stuck with me for a while, and I knew it wasn't the right choice. So the next time I went back, I kind of like had some ceremony and communicated with the spirits, and then left the ramps alone for like a really long time and didn't take any. So yeah, like we have that guidance system in us, and so it's just a matter of making the conscious choice to tune back in.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about Native Americans when they would hunt, they would ask the Great Spirit, like, is this one for us or is this one to be left alone? And they would even ask, like, granted, that would be killing an animal, but even in the context of when it was needed, because of history and lack of food and things, even they had a very utmost respect and kind of asking and tuning in, is this one for us or is this one part of the balance of the ecosystem that needs to remain in the forest to breed or whatever the case is? And they were very in tune with that type of information. And if they were to take an animal, they would use everything and honor everything about it. And it's a totally different energy than mass slaughtering at a slaughterhouse and ending up in the grocer's refrigerated section.
Yeah, and and we have that ability to tune in for not just food choices, but I have people sometimes ask me, like what kind of exercise should I do, right? For example, like I know, like I love to hike and be out in nature, but I have this kind of foot injury from years and years and years ago that's been sort of re-aggravated. And there have been times when I've been on hikes just recently where I was starting to get signals from the body that like, okay, it's probably time to stop and take it easy for a few days. And I'm like, yeah, but I want to hike because it's nice out and I'm having a good time. And so I really push myself, and then like I'll be in pain after that.
Well, fortunately, this last time not as bad as the first time that we hung out together. Of course,
Yeah.
I feel all self-conscious because he's never had this problem. Well, I just met him, so that going out that it's like, oh no, I broke Casey. No.
But yeah, and I come across it all the time in massage therapy. People come in, and I have a couple of points with this one. But people will come in and they say, oh, my back is killing me. I can't move. I can't go to work. Like I'm in so much pain, and like I just need you to fix me. And so I ask people, okay, well, what happened leading up to this? Did you injure yourself? Is there like like tension, tightness, spasms before this happened? Like that just came out of nowhere. And then as we start to work on the area, it happens all the time where people start to remember, oh, you know what? Well, there was this one day where I was, on a bike ride, and I like fell off the bike, and that kind of pulled something. But then there were a few times when I had some like spasms and everything, but it wasn't that bad. And it's almost like working in that area where like awakening these memories of like, hey, here was the body communicating to you that something was wrong. You needed to get something done about it. And our bodies do give us signals. Before we're at that point where we're in so much pain that we can't move or walk or whatever it is. The body is communicating. The body gives us signals like, hey, it's time to rest. It's time to get some work done. It's time for healing. The body will tell us before we're that bad. It's just that, again, we're not taught to tune into the body. But then the other thing we're always talking about, whatever you're focusing on the most is what you get more and more of. And so another thing that happens, I'll see someone maybe for whatever, let's say their back hurts. It says, well, does your back always hurt? And they might say, yeah, no, it's always painful. And then we ask, okay, wait a minute. Well, are you sure about that? Are there ever times when your back's not in pain? And then, they maybe start to think about it. I don't know, not really. It's just, and then maybe later on, it's just like, well, you know what? Yeah, there's like a few days last week where I wasn't in pain, and then there's like during the day there's usually some time where it doesn't really hurt, but all they're focused on is the painful part, right? So all their attention, all of their awareness, they can think of, all they can recall even in the moment is the pain, and they don't remember what their body feels like to feel good.
I've had the experience of the opposite happening, where someone has the pain and you follow up with them 2 weeks later and they were like, oh, I don't know. And because it's gone and they don't even recognize that it's gone. And so there were more an allowance of it rather than focusing on it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, where people's attention is at. But
another good tool with that is Dr. Dane gives this example. I think it's in his book, Being You, the Changing the World, that he was working with this or saw this lady at a grocery store, and she was looking at something that had fallen, and she was going to pick it up, at her back hurt, and he's like, well, who does that belong to? And she goes, my husband. And then she just bent down and picked it up and didn't have the pain. So sometimes as an empath, I wonder if sometimes the pain isn't even ours and it could be somebody else's or something else's.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And being that we are infinite beings of energy, we are in tune with and constantly sensing way more outside of the spectrum that we're taught is possible to sense. So yeah, when you're walking through the grocery store, most people are picking up on the energies of just about everyone walking through there. And some people aren't as like open by default as others, but but when we start to resonate with those things, who knows how much, even when we come home after we've been out, how much of that is just something that really resonated with something within us that we're carrying along with us, and how much of it is actually like our own physiology.
And some of us might be very gifted with psychometry, which is usually metal, but if you ever have psychics that want you to give them something metal, but you can do the same thing with cotton balls. It doesn't have to be metal. But say you're picking the avocados and all of a sudden you're feeling like some tension in your body, maybe you're picking up on the worker that was hired to climb up and harvest the avocados. You might just even be kinetically tuning into when you touch the food, like the people that had a hand in creating it or bringing it to you there.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah, and I do wonder about that a lot, because I know everything like Hank or not Hank, Zane was saying, our teacher in shamanism. We do this. It's called a kintu. We make an offering of these leaves, and when we infuse it with our energy in the way that we do it, it actually physically restructures the molecules in those leaves, and we're doing it with a very loving, peaceful intent to connect with the sacredness of the moment and all of that. But the same thing's happening when people are angry and pissed off and not in a peaceful space. And how many of those workers that are picking that food are having just a really
right? And for that matter, think of you brought him up a couple times, the water experiment guy, Dr. Emoto, I think is his name, and like how much water is affected by your energetic states, anger and hate or agitation or whatever. And if those workers are that or you're that, like how much water is in the food that you're creating or eating, like in produce, like a lot of that has water in it. And so like all that stuff could be in the water memory, and that would just be something right before you eat, like what intention could you have to shift the vibration of the food that could be a greater contribution for the body. So not only asking about where it's coming from, but then once you are going to eat it, to taking a moment to what could I do to kind of supercharge this to make it a greater contribution before putting it in me.
Yeah, and especially with water, well, because water is water. It's 100% water, right?
Yeah.
But I know, like one of the things Dr. Emoto in his experiments found was that after water goes through like a sharp angle at a fast speed, like in the pipes that we have, like it goes from one direction to the other, that metaphorically speaking, like makes the water angry. And it has that fractured, dissonant looking pattern when you go, even if there was no other, input as far as human like thought, emotion, or sound or anything, just going through those sharp angles that it gets to come out of our faucet makes the water really angry. People always focus on, what the food they're putting into their body in terms of being healthy or not. But I think even more important than that is what about the water you're drinking? Because that's what we're primarily composed of. So one of the things you can do to sort of combat that, and there are devices that they make to restructure the water. So they have, it's one of the simple ones is it's like a little, one of those pieces that I don't know if you've ever seen where you make like a bottle tornado, where you like spin two bottles attached to each other and it like spins through. It's one of those, but it has these really strong magnets around the inside of the point of the vortex. So putting the water at a high vortex, a high spin state, restructures it to neutral. And then also the magnets help to like further amplify that. So you just have two bottles with the thing in the middle, and then that's like a really simple version of that. And they're also like big machines, so you can get to do it.
Yeah, you can also use symbols for changing it too, like in advanced Reiki training. If anyone's ever taken that, not all teachers teach it because sometimes it's considered more woo-woo. But you go through like a whole water ceremony where you manipulate the water with Reiki energy, and then they even suggest that if you have like a water bottle or a water dispenser or a pitcher where you drink the water out of after you pour it in, you can put that on the symbol called the Antakarana symbol, which just sitting it on that symbol can help to shift the energy and vibration of the water.
And you don't have to even know that. You don't have to have a machine. You don't have to know any symbols or anything. Big thing, before you go to drink water, you have it in your hands. Hold it with both hands. That's a really powerful thing to do. Both hands. So you're very mindful, really connected with the water. And, just whatever gratitude or love you can feel in the moment. Maybe you're not having a great day or whatever, but whatever bit of gratitude you can have, just feel that and really think and feel and project that into the water. Whatever the highest vibration of love and gratitude you can experience at the moment. And then just as you're taking at least your first sip, really mindfully, feel the energy of that water entering, and that right there will completely restructure the water. Even just being present with it, just being completely mindful in the moment with whatever water or beverage that you're drinking can start to really restructure it. And there was a guru that I was listening to who was telling the story about how like in India, they have a whole different relationship with water than we do. Water is they keep it in these big copper vessels, and they actually like pray to and like worship the water every that they drink every day. And so like when you go
That's
into
kind
someone's house, the first thing that they do is they hand you like a cup of water, and you're supposed to take a sip. It's like just their customs. You do that, or at least I don't know, not all everywhere in India, but at least in this part of India that he was in, he was saying that's what they do. And he
that's
walked
really
into
awesome.
what's that?
I love that. That's awesome.
Oh, so he walks into this woman's house, and he's known for being a guru and all that, and she gives him the water, and he looked at her and just for the feel of her energy and the way that she looked, he's like, I'm not drinking that water. And she got really offended, right? Because you're supposed to drink the water. You don't refuse the water when someone offers it to you. And he said, he just made a mention of like, yeah, your energy is just horrible right now. I'm not going to drink the water that you gave me. And so she picks it up and she goes, it's good water. Takes a drink of it, and he's like, here. And so what she meant was it's not poisoned, right? Like she didn't like put poison in the water. But so he takes it, and she had just taken a sip of it. So he takes it in his hand and he just sits with it, and it's just completely like present and just feeling love and bliss into that water. And then he hands it back to her, and he says, "Okay, now you take another sip." And she took another sip, and she just started crying. And she said, "It's so sweet." Like the difference in just the taste and the energy of the water was so like powerfully noticeable, that woman in that moment, that she broke down and realized that like it was her energy that was doing that to the water. So I thought that was a really powerful story.
That is an amazing story. I love it. And the fact that they keep it in copper vessels. There's things with gardening with copper tubes and crystals and things that help shift plant growth and all that. So I think it's significant too that we're keeping it in copper vessels. I think that might add a lot of potency to the prayers and the intentions that they're offering for the water that they're drinking. And the other thing that comes up to share is in a grandfather ceremony. You have 4 rounds of a tobacco pipe, and you're giving your aspirations and your intentions to the universe. As you breathe in the smoke, you blow it into a cup of water, and then you internalize it. So just with the whole water ceremony that you kind of walked everyone through, that would be another thing. Not necessarily with cigarettes, please. This would be with just raw tobacco, mompacha, which is like the South American version. But to have like an air element where you're also breathing an intention into it, you could even add a little bit more ceremonial aspects to doing something like that. Of course, if you have friends and family over, maybe just hold it nonchalantly so you're not being judged and for being woo-woo, and then take your sip.
Yeah, and with the breath, that's a great tool to use. You don't using tobacco again. I think we need to. Well, a lot of people need to reframe their relationship with that, but that's amazing if you're open enough to do that. But if you're not at the point where you're comfortable enough to use like tobacco for prayer and in the water, you can just use your breath also. So in combination of what I said, just breathing, kind of like hold that retain for a moment and let the breath like blend with all of the sacredness that you're feeling and all of your gratitude and love. And you can just really gently just breathe that into the water and imagine it's infused.
We call that like a haiwa, like a baby's breath, just like you're breathing the energy of whatever it is you're instilling into the water, not with words or anything like that. It's like a combination of your will and love of what you're putting into the water. We call it munai in the tradition. So with your munai, you're just breathing that little sacred haiwa, that baby's breath, into the water, and then you're internalizing that. So the water is, and Zane talked a little bit about this with like the Hapaikusai ceremony. When you do something like that, and then you internalize it, like all the molecules in your body start to shift in order to help actualize that in your life. So it can be a very potent experience and practice for manifesting and actualizing whatever it is you're asking the universe to bring you. And now you're really becoming intimate with those choices and all that good stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just going back to the like water tasting like sweeter after doing like energy healing or like being present with it and all of that. There's actually I think it was Robert Pang. You studied under him for Qigong. He had an exercise where he took he took brandy, it's like, alcoholic beverage brandy from the same bottle, and poured the same amount into 2 identical cups. And one, he did this. He basically is just flowing energy into it, and imagining that all of the unpleasantness, the bitterness, all of the dense energy is just draining out the bottom of the cup, and then he's refilling it with this light, peaceful, loving energy. And then, at the time I did this with, I think like whiskey or something that I had, and you take a sip of the one, and it was like, tastes really pleasant and sweet. And then again, it's the same whiskey out of the same jar, and you sip the other one, and by comparison, it's so bitter and has so much harshness that it's like completely disgusting. You almost want to spit it out just by comparison. But you can do that. I've done that with people with juice, and like I did it with lemon juice the one time. That was really cool. And like the lemon juice was like, and it still is sour because it's lemon juice. But then you taste the one that you haven't done that to, and you're like, whoa, that one's really sour after that. So yeah, it's really a really fun thing to play around with, like a demonstration of how energy can affect something very much on a physical level.
And whether or not you do qigong or not, just having the intention and just following your own knowing of what to do, you can have the same experience. I know in Access we have, I forget the name of the energy process, but you can use it for wine that doesn't taste good, or water that tastes bad, or whatever the case. Probably very similar. They call it molecular manifestation demolecularization or something, some really tongue twisty name, but it's just like basically you connecting with the molecules of whatever it is and asking them to rearrange to make it sweeter, less bitter, a bigger contribution for the body, whatever it is.
And then we can do that in our own bodies too, right? So that's one thing. Sometimes if I'm not feeling that great, I have exercises now like the Sama Chikui that really help to remove unpleasant energies and sensations. But another thing that I'll do sometimes is if whatever I've like been out around people in the grocery stores or like wherever I am, and I come home and I'm just not quite feeling as peaceful as I would like, I sit there and I sort of, I see it because I see energy, but I see like the framework of the energy of my body expand outward, so it's a little more like easily visible and bigger. And then I go, all right, what would this look like if I could shift it to be completely like at peace right now? And then I just see all of like the complex geometry start to like morph and shift, and then become like a lot more pleasant and peaceful. Now you don't have to be able to do that or see all of that to do that, but you can tune into the body, and again just asking like, what would it feel like if right now we could be at complete peace, and then what energies can I bring in, what shift can I make right now in order to actualize that, and then just feel as the body starts to kind of shift and move along with your intention.
Awesome. Ooh, there's so many things coming to my mind now. We have so many little out in the woods episodes to do, and we can do some of these things that we're talking about on. Oh, I'm just looking forward to really having some experiences around that. Let's see. Anything else?
Well, I don't know.
Well, throwing it out for those that of you are still watching, I see some on the watch party as well. We won't see your comments if you're commenting on the watch party. You have to comment on the Stir Crazy Shaman Facebook page or YouTube channel. But if you guys have any questions or comments, let us know. John was actually talking it up quite a bit as we were talking. That just like when we were talking about the products, that you can the intuition of when you're about to buy something, like tuning in and doing things like that, and was talking about some other things that are kind of out of place now, and also saying, great work guys, catch you soon. So I'm glad that John was able to meet up with us for a little bit. And if you're catching this halfway through and you're going to go back and watch the replay, please also make sure you start a watch party or share the video if you feel called to. But what else is there anything else around our topic of really mindful eating and being? I would say would be the title of this episode.
I think maybe that's good. It did. It was funny. It was like, I didn't think the energy was fizzling out, but then you paused and I'm like, oh, where did it go? So I guess, yeah, it's a good
Well,
time.
I felt it like as I was about to start talking, I just felt it go. Vroom.
Yeah, I felt it after you paused. I was
Well,
like, oh,
that also could be, was it ours or was it somebody in my household saying he's still on the stream?
okay, that's
It's
possible.
a possibility.
You just did the doctor before this, so you've been
Right.
streaming for a while now.
I know, and I was going to take like a 15-minute break, but I just wanted, well, that,
I,
and then
I almost thought about asking you before we jumped on. I'm like, do you need a breather? You know, like,
I'm good. I had my cup, I got my coffee mug here, like
oh,
cold
there you go.
now, but it's,
I've had my mugicha. For everyone that's wondering, this is not a glass of whiskey. This is barley tea.
no, I gotta, don't care what people judge you if they think it's whiskey or not.
Yeah, I mean, if I was drinking whiskey at 12 p.m. on a Friday or Saturday, whatever day it is, why not? You're right. Why did I wait till noon?
Well, for those of you who don't know, I've been sober for 12 years now. And when I was in the heyday of my drinking, I had the stand-up shower, right? And then there was like this little shelf, and I thought, wow, that's a great place to bring a cup of whiskey and have a sip or two while you're taking a shower. That's how crazy I was when it came to drinking. I say I was a professional drinker. You'll never get judgment from me for drinking a whiskey on air or anything.
No, and that's something also. I know we're kind of getting close to the hour, but I just wanted to touch on that with going back to what we were saying, not like putting anything off limits for yourself, because I've in the past really struggled with drinking too much also, and I always had this attitude of either like I'm not drinking at all and like alcohol is bad, I can't touch it at all, and then like that would last for a while, and then I'd be like, I just really want to have a beer, and then it's like boom, next thing you know I'm like drinking every single day. And but in recent past what I've noticed is just allow yourself. My body, if I'm really in the moment, like, I would like to have a beer right now, tune in with what the body wants, and maybe the body ultimately would not actually like to have alcohol, but like maybe I in the moment really want that. So but what I do is I'll sit there and really mindfully drink one of my craft beers, and usually after one or two beers my body's like, you know what, like no more please, and then I go, okay, and then we stop. Whereas like in the past it would be like we'd be on number 6 or 7 and I'd be like, well now we're just getting started.
When it comes, if anybody's listening and they identify with having an addictive personality, take that with because I've been sober 12 years and I'm still very mindful about that. But ultimately, relapsing is based on your spiritual condition. If you are drinking to medicate something away, then that is a very slippery slope. If it's doing as a contribution to the body or in an awareness that it's going to be a contribution and it's not to medicate and it's to increase the awareness, then spiritually you're probably in a spot where that would not be a slippery slope. But if you're, depending where you are in potentially your sobriety, if you do identify with that, take really ask your sponsor first before you do it. I'll say it that way.
Yeah. I'm definitely not giving any kind of advice on what anyone should do about that.
Oh, and I get that. I just want to throw that out there because somebody in the space of addiction will take that comment and have a reason and justification to drink while the shaman.
Oh yeah, see, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just got haha. Whoever's watching that I just spoiled you. Yeah, now you know that's not what we're saying, because like it's like, yeah, I need to reframe something with this, because it's really about like when like you're medicating your gifts away, you're medicating your awareness away, and that's never a reason to pick up a drink. But when you have sobriety and it's a spiritual experience, and there may be wiggle room in that. I'm not like yesterday I went to eat this bread, right? And I can't even tell you, like the second it hit my tongue, I knew, oh shit, this is bad. I spit it out, and like I could just feel like this wave of, like, it wasn't moldy or anything, but there's something happened to this bread. Like I don't know exactly what it was, but I actually did a rum gargle and then spit it out. Like I have like this rum that I offered to my spirits, and you need to do this, whatever was in there. I just did that, and I wasn't worried about relapsing or anything. I also didn't, actually ingest it. But I mean, you're following your awareness, and it is going to be a contribution. That's a whole separate ballgame than taking it as a way to medicate consciousness or awareness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah, but I know I guess whatever I was when maybe alcohol was not the best example to give
No.
publicly, but I guess what I was saying is like, so for anything, if there is like, say like a certain, well, let's say food, that's a little easier, right? So say chocolate's your vice, and you overdo it with chocolate all the time, and then you like end up like feeling really sick because you eat too much chocolate when you do. Maybe not saying like, okay, that's completely off limits, I can never have chocolate again. Just be really mindful when you are eating chocolate, and say, maybe you take a few bites, and then your body's like, all right, you know what, that's enough. We got our little fix, and then listen, and then stop. Don't just keep going because like I shouldn't be doing this, but I mean, and listening to the body can really help with, I think, with overcoming a lot of addictions. And in fact, there was this study that they did, and I hope this really starts to take off. I watched a TED Talk on it where they did this. They were trying a new approach to helping people to quit smoking cigarettes, and it was the first one of its kind at the time. And they actually encouraged people to smoke cigarettes to help them to quit smoke cigarettes. But what they said was, yeah, go ahead. You're trying to quit smoking cigarettes? Great. Keep smoking cigarettes. What they said was, but when you do smoke that cigarette, we want you to be really, really curious about what you're feeling when you're smoking that cigarette. Just like a kid, just be really present with your senses and notice what's happening when you are smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, I bet you a lot of people who've ever smoked that first cigarette, what your experience was. You probably never would have done it again if it wasn't for the pressure. And you listen to your body's like, don't do that to me.
But these are people that have been like chronic smokers, and then like the people were saying, so like he put it up like what people were documenting their experience was, and people have been smoking every single day for years and years and years and years. And then first time they were encouraged to do it mindfully, person's like, yeah, it tastes like ashes and dirt and chemicals, and it smells disgusting, and it makes my lungs feel bad. And they're like, oh, okay. Maybe that's not the best thing. But they found that in doing this, they actually had far more success in getting people to actually quit smoking. But the biggest thing was people that stayed off of cigarettes in the long run. It was far more success without having people going back to smoking cigarettes, and actually encouraging people like, yeah, if you want to smoke, but be really mindful of what's happening when you do. So I thought that was really fascinating.
It's kind of the rule of thumb. No matter what you're going to do, be really mindful when you're doing it, and you might just make a different choice.
Absolutely.
Or change your experience while you're making the choice that you're having, either one. And yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to post, this is the link to the YouTube video where we're streaming this. For if you're just joining us and you're going to go back and watch it in the archive, it definitely helps us to have watch time over on YouTube, as well as give a thumbs up, comment, or subscribe. All of the above is greatly appreciated. And I think did I put the Stir Crazy Shamans in the text here? I did. So in the description above the video, I put in, check out all the past episodes at stircrazyshamans.com. It has all the YouTube videos there. Maybe not today's, but if you want to go back through the archive, you can watch everything right through our page now. And there's also links to download audio. So it's pretty cool. We're coming up into the technology. Shamans plus technology equals awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And it's been already, thus far, it's been an amazing, beautiful ride to do this along with you, and all the viewers that have commented and are watching and contributing. It's been really amazing. It's so much fun and so fulfilling to do this. So really looking forward to where this is going to continue to go in the future. So I really heartfelt thank you to all of you.
Yeah, and Nike. I can't say that enough myself. It's really, just even people I haven't talked to in years, like since 2000, let's see, when did the bank close? Oh man, like 2012-ish, 2013, people I haven't communicated with in like 7 years that I knew working at Bank of America. They've been catching the streams, and I've gotten messages. It's like, oh my gosh, this, thank you so much for doing it. It's like, you never realize, like, even not everybody makes a comment, but the people's lives are really impacted, or they make choices from the awarenesses that we bring up on this. And then you might hear about it months or years later of what the impact was. So we're just really thankful that people are in a space where they're allowing to receive from what we are offering. So thank you.
Yes, it's beautiful. And I don't know if we have already said, but yes, definitely watch on YouTube for the replay, but please subscribe. That really helps us out. And then also you get the notifications from when we go live. And it's kind of different depending on the day. We're usually in the mornings but like the exact time varies. So if you have the notifications turned on, then when we go live, we get notified. And if you can catch it live, that's great. If not, you can always get the replay. So
Yeah, absolutely. And do look forward to, I got a camera called Mevo, which lets us live stream based on, like, we don't have to have the whole setup. We can just go out with an iPad and stream. And it's going to be awesome. We already have a couple locations. We just need to start doing it, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
absolutely. Oh, that'll be so much fun. Yes.
We won't be able to see comments out of nature as easily, though. We would have to have another device, so we may not be as interactive, but we will definitely be offering like ceremonies and different things out in nature. So it's awesome. And we're coming up on the 60-minute mark. So for Instagram TV, we'll do a quick see you later.
Thank you.
Nike, Nike, Nike.